If you're in the mood for an anime binge, but you do not want to start something that requires a long-term relationship, this list is for you. Today we're talking about 10 action anime you can finish in one night. These are the kind of anime that are short, easy to get into, and packed with enough action to keep you locked in way longer than you planned. So if you've got one free night, zero self-control, and a dangerous habit of saying just one more episode, yeah, this list is gonna ruin your sleep schedule. Let's get into it. Here are 10 action anime you can finish in one night. Number 10. I Parry Everything. Action, Adventure, Fantasy. I Parry Everything is the kind of anime that takes one simple idea and somehow makes it way more entertaining than it should be. The main character trained for years mastering one basic skill: parrying. That's it. No flashy magic, no Demon King bloodline, no secret overpowered cheat skill with a paragraph-long name. He just got unbelievably good at blocking things. And now he can parry basically everything. Swords, monster attacks, powerful magic, and honestly, common sense too. Because the funniest part of this anime is that the guy's insanely overpowered, but has absolutely no idea. So while everyone around him is panicking over world-ending threats, he's just standing there like, was that dangerous? Sir, you just treated a national emergency like target practice. It's a fun, light fantasy action anime with easy pacing, enjoyable fights, and a lot of people underestimated the wrong guy energy. If you want something simple, entertaining, and super bingeable, this is a great way to start the night. Number 9. Darwin's Game. Action, mystery, supernatural, thriller. If you like your action anime with death games, supernatural powers, and constant paranoia, then Darwin's Game is a very easy binge. The story starts when a normal high school student downloads a random mobile game, which in anime is already the first mistake. But instead of getting some harmless app, he gets pulled into a real-life survival game where players use supernatural abilities called sigils and fight to stay alive. So basically, your app store becomes a murder simulator. What makes this anime work so well for a one-night watch is the pacing. It gets into the danger quickly, explains just enough to keep things moving, and constantly gives you that, okay, one more episode feeling. The fights are fun because the powers are varied, the tension stays pretty solid, and the survival game setup keeps things interesting even when it gets a little wild. Is it the deepest anime ever made? No, but it's tense, entertaining, and very binge-friendly. If you enjoy shows where people are forced into dangerous games and bad decisions happen every 5 minutes, Darwin's Game is a solid pick. Number 8. Viral Hit. Action, drama, martial arts. Viral hit is basically what happens when anime says, what if getting punched in the face became content creation? And somehow it actually works. The story follows a weak, awkward kid who gets dragged into the world of online street fighting videos and slowly learns how to fight for real. What makes this one stand out is that the progression actually feels satisfying. He doesn't suddenly become some unstoppable anime monster after one motivational speech. He learns step by step. He struggles, he gets beat up, he improves. And because of that, every win feels earned. That's what makes the action so much fun. The fights feel more grounded than a lot of other action anime, but they still have enough intensity to stay exciting. It also has that modern internet vibe, with online views, clout, and people doing way too much for attention, which honestly makes the whole thing feel weirdly believable. If you like underdog stories, street fights, and watching bullies get humbled, Viral Hit is a super easy one-night binge. Number 7. The Ossan newbie adventurer, trained to death by the most powerful party, became invincible. Action, adventure, fantasy. This title is so long it basically counts as a summary, but the anime itself, actually pretty fun. The Ossan Newbie adventurer follows a guy who starts his adventurer journey later in life, which in fantasy anime usually means everyone immediately assumes you're useless. And of course, they're wrong, because he ends up getting trained by one of the strongest parties around, or more accurately, absolutely traumatized into becoming overpowered. So now everyone sees an older beginner and thinks he's an easy target, until he casually destroys them and ruins their self-esteem in the process. It's got fun fantasy action, solid comedy, satisfying fights, and that classic anime formula of the wrong guy got underestimated, which, let's be honest, never gets old. This isn't trying to reinvent fantasy. It's not trying to be the next masterpiece. It just wants to be a fun, action-heavy binge with an overpowered main character and good pacing. And honestly, that's exactly what it is. Number 6. Demon Lord 2099. Action, fantasy, sci-fi. Demon Lord 2099 is one of those anime that instantly stands out because the concept is just too good to ignore. A legendary demon lord returns, but instead of waking up in the fantasy world he remembers, he ends up in a futuristic city full of neon lights, advanced technology, cyberpunk vibes, and a world that clearly moved on without him. So right away, the anime gives you something different. Instead of another generic medieval fantasy setting, you get this mix of old-school dark fantasy and futuristic sci-fi, which makes it feel way fresher than most standard action shows. And honestly, that's the biggest strength here. The setting alone keeps it interesting. You've got magic clashing with technology, a demon lord trying to adapt to a completely different era, and enough style in the world design to make the whole thing feel visually cool. It's the kind of anime where even if the story is still building, the vibe is already strong enough to keep you watching. If you want an action anime that feels a little different, a little stylish, and very easy to binge in one night, Demon Lord 2099 is a really solid pick. Number 5. The Unwanted Undead Adventurer. Action, adventure, fantasy. If you like fantasy anime with dungeon crawling, monster evolution, slower progression, and a main character who just cannot catch a break, then The Unwanted Undead Adventurer is a great one-night binge. The story follows a low-rank adventurer who's been grinding for years without really getting anywhere. No broken powers, no legendary title, no chosen one nonsense. Just a guy trying to survive and move up in the world, while naturally, fantasy anime decides to ruin his life. He gets taken out by a powerful monster and wakes up as an undead skeleton. So yeah, not ideal. From there, the anime becomes a really satisfying progression story where he has to survive, evolve, and figure out how to keep moving forward while literally becoming less human by the day. What makes this one work is that the growth actually feels earned. It's more grounded and more patient than a lot of fantasy action anime, and that slower build makes the world and the character a lot more enjoyable. If you want a fantasy binge with good atmosphere, steady development, and a protagonist who's basically one bad day away from becoming dungeon decor, this one is a strong pick. Number 4. Akudama Drive. Action, sci-fi, thriller. If this list was based purely on style and chaos, Akudama Drive would be fighting for number 1. This anime is basically cyberpunk criminals plus insane action and absolute mayhem. And honestly, it keeps getting more entertaining the longer it goes. The story throws you into a futuristic dystopian world where a group of high-level criminals called Akudama get pulled into a dangerous mission that quickly spirals into complete madness. And the best part is, it never slows down. That's what makes this such a strong one-night binge. The pacing is fast, the energy stays high, and every episode feels like it's trying to outdo the last one. The visuals are slick, the city looks incredible, and the action has that loud, over-the-top feel that keeps everything exciting, even when the plot goes completely off the rails. And honestly, that's part of the fun. This is not the kind of anime you watch for quiet reflection and inner peace. This is the kind of anime you watch because you want stylish fights, memorable characters, cyberpunk madness, and enough adrenaline to accidentally finish the whole thing at 4 a.m. If that sounds like your kind of bad decision, Akudama Drive absolutely delivers. Number 3. The most notorious talker runs the world's greatest clan. Action, adventure, fantasy. This anime proves one thing very quickly. You do not need to be the strongest person in the room if you're the smartest and most dangerous. The main character's class is Talker, which sounds like the kind of thing you'd get stuck with in a fantasy RPG right before uninstalling the game. But instead of being weak support bait, he turns it into a weapon. And that's what makes this one fun. Rather than winning with raw power, he wins with strategy, manipulation, leadership, and being 10 steps ahead of everyone around him. That gives the show a different kind of energy compared to the usual fantasy action anime. Instead of just watching an overpowered MC punch harder than everyone else, you're watching someone build influence, control situations, and slowly become the kind of person you absolutely should not underestimate or trust. It's got a more tactical vibe, a colder main character, and the really satisfying mastermind in a fantasy world feel. If you're tired of generic chosen one protagonists and want something a little sharper, Talker is a really solid binge. Number 2. Clevatess. Action, adventure, fantasy, drama. Clevatess is the kind of anime that stands out because it actually feels like the world has weight. A lot of fantasy anime look fine on the surface, but once you get into them, they feel like the same recycled kingdom with a different coat of paint. Clevatess doesn't have that problem. The world feels darker, more dangerous, more mysterious, and like something bad could happen at any moment, which instantly makes it more interesting. What really helps is the tone. This anime feels more serious than your average action fantasy show. It lets the atmosphere breathe. It leans into the darker fantasy elements. And because of that, the action feels more impactful when it hits. There's a stronger sense of tension here, and that makes it really easy to keep watching. It's a kind of show you binge because you want to know more about the world, the danger, and what kind of disaster is waiting around the corner. If you want fantasy action with better atmosphere, stronger world building, and a darker edge, Clevatess is a great pick. Number 1. Drifters. AKA, what if history class got violently isekai'd? This anime takes famous historical warriors and throws them into a brutal fantasy world, full of war, chaos, and enough violence to make it very clear this is not your average comfort watch. And honestly, that premise alone is already amazing. What makes Drifters such a great number 1 is how quickly it hooks you. The moment it starts doing what it does, you're in. The action is intense, the cast is memorable, and the whole show has this loud, aggressive energy that makes every episode feel bigger than it should. It's wild, unpredictable, and just ridiculously entertaining. And unlike a lot of short action anime that lose steam halfway through, Drifters keeps that momentum because the concept itself is strong enough to carry everything. If you want something brutal, creative, and insanely bingeable, Drifters absolutely earns the top spot. This is the kind of anime you start because the idea sounds cool, and then suddenly it's 3 a.m. and you're wondering why more people don't talk about it. Final thoughts. And that was 10 action anime you can finish in one night. If your watch list has been full of anime you keep meaning to start, hopefully this list gave you a few short action series that are actually worth ruining your sleep schedule for. Because sometimes you don't need 200 episodes, 8 power-up arcs, or a long emotional commitment. Sometimes you just need a short anime with good fights, fast pacing, and enough hype to make just one more episode a terrible decision. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. What's your favorite short action anime? And as always, take care, keep watching Peak, and I'll see you in the next one.